Hey, welcome back. We have more boxes, but yeah, had some stuff to go over first. So I know I said it's a two-box unboxing, but I'm going to spare you the wasted time that I took unboxing the first box. I was going to stream it, but when I realized what was inside, I realized that would have been a very long time for everyone to wait as I unpacked it because it was very thoroughly packed. So I'll just show you the end results. So, in the first box from Japan, we have a PC9821 XE10. This is a 486 DX4 chip. So this will play all the classic DOS games that were for PC98 in Japan. In case you don't know, the PC98 was the popular standard in Japan. It could play Windows, but primarily in the beginning it was a DOS machine. And eventually the PC98 went away for traditional Windows setups that incorporated many other chips. And it kind of went away. NEC still had a bit of dominance in the Japanese desktop space back then, but it kind of fizzled around the early to mid 2000s, I would say. That being said, I got some pretty cool pieces of software. These things are absolutely massive. I don't know if you guys can tell scale, but if that's the depth of the PC, this is more than 3/4 of the depth. So these things open up, and inside you have a giant black and white manual. All these have artwork inside them. This is a mech strategy game. It's pretty cool. It's giant. It's like a small book, has a proper spine. And then you have your floppy disks. The sequel, well, one of the sequels, there's actually two sequels. There's two Power Doll 2 games. I have Power Dolls 2 Dash, and this is widely considered to be the better of the two sequels. I think they fixed a whole bunch of things that were problematic about the first one, but this is really beautiful. So you have two booklets here. You have a lot of character art. Got some cockpit drawings, some aircraft landers, a lot of cool mech designs. We have a secondary book, which actually goes into the mechanics of how to play the game. Very text heavy, that one. And I can't believe this survived, but after all these years, it comes with a bumper sticker, a decal for your car. You could be the only person in the world with a Power Dolls 2 Dash bumper sticker. Yeah. Anyway, so a lot of floppy disks to be found here. I believe this one has 6. Yeah, 6. The PC98 did have CD-ROM games towards the end, and originally started actually with 5 1/4 floppies, so it lasted the entire gamut between 5 1/4, 3 1/2, and CD-ROM. My machine only has a normal floppy drive, no CD-ROM, but it does have an expansion bay here. If I want to put one, I can, but it's not really necessary. This is my copy of Doom, This is actually unused, which is amazing. This copy of Doom goes for nearly just shy of $400. And I paid a few bucks less than that. And by a few bucks, I mean hundreds of dollars less than that. I literally only spent a few bucks on this. The powers of Zenmarket, let me tell you. No one understands how much of a deal you can get by shopping direct. But yeah, if you ever wanted to see the original Japanese release of Doom, let me get the glare off of here. That is it. Back of the box, saying all manner of things that I can't understand about a game that was not made there. It's good stuff. Love it. So, moving on from that, we have the the keyboard and mouse. I already had the mouse, but here's the keyboard. Membrane doesn't feel great, and I'm not really a fan of this. I'm not entirely sure how I'm supposed to use this. Like, if you're playing Doom, going backwards is going to feel really freaking awkward. Like, I feel like that almost works better than this. The jump is huge. So we'll see. And then I opened it, but this was a brand new sealed copy of Dirt 5 for the PS5. In case you didn't know, the physical version of this has become way rarer than almost any other modern day video game for the PlayStation 5. I'm not sure as to why. I got my first copy when I had my first PS5 pretty easily, but I guess they're super hard to find now, and they go for a lot of money. So I picked this one up for a fraction of that cost from Japan. The Japanese discs don't go for collector prices, but it's the same game, so why wouldn't you get just the freaking Japanese version? But yes, on to the unboxing. And as you can tell, seeming as we've already gone through the Zenmarket unboxing, that means we have a dev kit on our hands. Another dev kit, because we already have the IS Nitro emulator over there. So this should be a clue. I didn't know he was giving me this, so yeah. Got a free copy of Monster Hunter Portable 3. It's got the manual. It's got the little ad thing. And the UMD. I'll take that. Not a really big Monster Hunter fan, but hey, it's one game I don't have to buy, so it's always a plus. Let's see what else we got here. This feels like an AC adapter. Oh no, it is not. This feels like an AC adapter. That would be an AC adapter. Oh, it's really thin. Zozo. Okay. It's probably not stock, if I had to guess. Then again, I'm not really too familiar with the stock power supply of this thing. This will definitely be a clue here. As if you couldn't already tell from the game. I'm going to put you down for a second. Okay, so here we go. Here is the controller. And as you can see here, it's a PSP. Kind of. This is the controller for the PSP debug test unit. And as you can see here, there's no UMD drive. It's perfectly smooth. And so, much like the DS over here, the hardware is in the box. And the controller that looks like the portable system essentially just acts as a controller with buttons that obviously work and a screen. Screen obviously works, but the unit also outputs its signal onto a monitor. Now this plug is for the controller here, has a proprietary plug and USB. That kind of odd that they didn't make a proprietary plug that pulled power in, but there you have it. And now get to the meat and potatoes here. I have to say I'm really thankful this guy double boxed the system, which was nice, because a lot of the times there's hardly any protection, and because they're trying to get things shipped as cheaply as possible. So that was actually really nice, gotta say. Doesn't ever happen these days. People are cheap, cheap, cheap. Alright, she's free. That's tiny. A lot tinier than I thought it was going to be. Alright, let me put you down for a second here. If the phone will stay. There we go. Set this down so we have a little makeshift table. And there we have it. So this unit, a little banged up. That's okay. This unit came from Sony Online Entertainment. Looks like it was in a QA department. PSP unit number 26. It was updated with 6.31 apparently. There you have your UMD drive and the Magic Gate memory card port is right here. Zoom out a little bit here. You have your controller and the USB port here. So we take our controller, that would go like so. And I want to be very careful here because these pins look pretty ginger. Okay, easy peasy. I'll push that in firmly later on, but if your dip switches here, looks like you have a headphone jack out here. A couple function keys, which I'm not sure what those do. And then, as you can see here, we have a drive select button. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what does that mean? It's because you can boot games either from the UMD drive, if you have a retail disc, or you can burn an ISO on a DVD and put it in the DVD ROM drive here. This was helpful for people developing a game. So you could either test a demo unit that was put on a UMD, that was burned on a UMD from Sony, which they would do periodically throughout development. I've had a bunch of them in the past myself. Or if you were just making the game itself. You could just go ahead and burn whatever version you had going at that point, plop it in this, and this acts through and through like a PSP. So unlike the IS Nitro emulator here that needs a computer to load software to it, and then it plays and everything's just fine. All this is self-contained, and it's all through the stock, or what looks like stock PSP OS. So when you boot this up, you're not going to get like a computer screen or a Windows operating system or anything like that. It's just going to boot up. It's going to look like a PSP on your VGA out monitor. And you put in a game, That's it. You select this through here. There's no software prompts or anything. It's all just mechanical. And if it shows, that means you burned it right. I'm going to have to play around with that, see if I can burn a PSP game to a DVD properly. Unlike Nintendo, good old Sony showing Nintendo its place. Apparently you did not have to pay for the optional Wi-Fi upgrade. Thanks, Sony. That was awfully nice of you. And unlike Nintendo, which only gave developers your standard Nintendo AV cable out for each monitor, Sony's been so gracious as to give us VGA and stereo sound out, which is a heck of a lot better quality. Now, to be fair, the upscaled 480p that the emulator pushes the image out for the Nintendo games is still pretty damn nice. But VGA quality graphics, even better. And like I said, I don't need a PC. This thing will just boot up. But surprising lack amount of ports. I feel like Nintendo had more stuff going on in the back. That being said, Nintendo's is a heck of a lot smaller than this. This is still small for a computer, but it is about twice the size as the IS Nitro emulator behind me. That said, it has modern optical drives, or at least modern for its time, and then this proprietary one, right? Whereas Nintendo only packed their IS Nitro with cartridge ports on the top for DS and GBA, which on the emulator you can't even use. So as you have to sideload games onto the unit through a computer. So yeah, I'm going to test this out. I did only own one game. Now I own two. Wow. Okay, but I bought this at Goodwill several weeks ago. And yeah, I've always liked Need for Speed up until about this era, and then they lost me. But I think this was like $3 complete. And I was like, well, I don't have a PSP, but I have a feeling that one day I will. I was kind of right, kind of wrong. It's kind of not a PSP, kind of is. Anyway, good thing is, in case you're thick in the head and you can't put two and two together, the system is region free. So you can play any region, PSP UMD, and that not only goes for games, which is handy in cases like this, but it also goes for UMD movies. Not that anyone's clamoring to watch those on a monitor, because if you're at home watching on a TV screen, you probably just have a Blu-ray or stream or something ready to go. But hey, the option is there technically. If you ever found a European or Japanese movie that you wanted to play, and it would not have been something that you have access to play on your American DVD player, this will play it, albeit at significantly lower resolution than your DVD player. But hey, that is the sacrifice. But yeah, that's about it. It's a very simple system, if I had to be honest with you. Surprisingly so. Looks like everything is pretty tidy there's no ports on the top or bottom except for that USB right there, which I don't think is necessary, seeming as it already is gaining power through that cord right there. Nothing on the bottom. Looks like the Wi-Fi ad hoc switch is already in the on position. So assuming that's ready to go. And I'm assuming that's... I'm actually kind of curious. I'm gonna have to test this out and see if that power switch actually turns on the system like a PlayStation 3 controller would turn on a PlayStation 3. I'm trying to compare errors, right? Or if you actually have to use the power button here. Not sure. But yeah, I'm really excited to get this. This is something that I've wanted for a long time. I used to collect dev kits, at least the ones that I can actually use. And this was always something that's kind of eluded me. I had a couple opportunities to get them, but they were way too expensive. And this guy, my friend and I, Jake, think that maybe this is from a storage locker. The seller that I got it from doesn't really seem like he's terribly into gaming. And he also had no idea as to what the value was. I got this set for the value of this controller here, the whole thing. So I'm trying to reclaim the dev kits and test kits that I had, but I think that's going to be a tall order. I've had two Sega katanas, and they're now going for about $91 to $9,300 a piece. And I've had several PS2 test units and PS1 debug test units as well, and those are going for a few $100, if not several $100 a piece these days. So you never know. I'll always keep my eyes peeled, but hope you guys learned something. That's rather cool, I think, to be able to see hardware like this still floating around in a wild. And I mean, honestly, these controls feel pretty fresh. Doesn't feel, everything's really snappy. Doesn't really feel like it's been used too much. Joystick. Yeah, the joystick feels really, really slippery, like in a good way, right? There's no grating like plastic on plastic. A lot of the older PSPs, it almost feels like you're scraping plastic on plastic because it's been worn, after time. And yeah, everything here seems to be in tip-top condition. This here being the sole exception, chassis just looks a little bit twisted. But you have to remember, a lot of these were thrown away. And the only reason why they were rescued at all is because either people went to the bins, or recyclers found them and then sold them, or people found them at recycling centers, or whatever have you. Because much like Nintendo, when Sony was done with these and wanted developers to be done with these, they instructed all the developers, and then also themselves, because this one came from Sony, to dispose of them. None are technically supposed to exist, just as the Nintendo behind me is not supposed to exist. And thankfully, people ignored that, or were really clumsy at getting rid of this stuff. So, yeah, I'm really happy to have one of these, and can't wait to now collect for PSP. That'll be fun. I've always really liked the system in particular. I've always really liked the cases. I don't know, there's something aesthetically pleasing about like the height of a proper case, but like significantly less depth. I always liked it. It always felt really futuristic to me how they did it, and it felt like you got some value, whereas the Nintendo DS games, little squat squares, never felt like you got a full gaming experience. It always felt like you got like some sort of, I don't know, demo. Just based on like the size of the cartridge. It always felt like one of those sample discs that they would give away for during the PlayStation and Saturn days. But yeah, can't wait to check this out. And if there is anyone who wants it, I might end up doing a video once this and the Nitro emulator behind me are all set up, and I can show you around and show you how they work. But I've gotten some custom software that was done by a hacking community to get that to run on a stock Windows XP build, which I have ready to go. And it allows you to sideload any retail software onto it, and it actually enables the GBA port. I don't have a GBA game right now. Game Boy Advance wasn't really my favorite system. When the Game Boy Advance came out, I actually was so sick and tired of playing in 2D sprites that I was kind of miffed. I mean, you have to remember back in the day we had 3 generations of Game Boy, which was all NES, NES, NES graphics, and just, gradual clarity from green to black and white to color. So by the time the Game Boy Advance came out, I'm like, really? All we're getting is like Super Nintendo? Like, no thanks. I still bought one, but it wasn't really my favorite. The DS really struck home for me. That was a great system. They haven't been able to figure out how to get the DS card slot to work yet. But like I said, the hack at least gets that to work. So if I ever do come across a cheap Game Boy Advance game, I'll at least try that out. Otherwise, you just put your .nds ROMs in a folder, in the root folder that comes with the software, and then it'll change. You have to manually change the .nds to a different extension, and then you're good to go. So go ahead and check back in, probably be within a week. I'm hoping to do it actually this weekend, or we can get everything hooked up. And I'm not really done setting up here. I got my PVM. I've been trying to get everything hooked up. Everything here is hooked up, kinda. But I have a couple switchers coming for... I have a replacement switcher for the S-Video switch here. It's made by ASCII, A-S-C-I-I, however you pronounce that. And I have an RGB switcher for the RGB systems, which include this N64 and the Super Graphics down there. So yeah, anyway, thanks for coming, and I'll see you guys all next time.